And I think it's just like the newspaper, right? It's been changing slowly over time. And then you get the kind of the big moments of, AI, chat GPT, where we're going to see, current generation, the next generation, like you said, their purchase journey will be different. And I think what we've been, kind of wooed as an industry, that the purchase journey is linear, and the purchase journey has never been linear. I always challenge everyone to think about how you buy things, right? Like, you're gonna talk to friends and family. You're gonna talk about where you've bought a car, where you've serviced a car. Have your experiences been good? Have they been great? Do you know a guy? Like, everyone wants to know a guy.
Today, I'm joined by Amol Waishampayan, co-founder of Full Throttle AI, and David Regn, CEO of Full Throttle AI. Inventory advertising is going through another revolution, this time fueled by AI-driven search and smarter data. Dealers are juggling more channels than ever just to stay visible and relevant. So I sat down with the Full Throttle AI team to break down the state of dealer advertising in 2025 and where it's headed next. A big thank you to our sponsors for making today's episode possible: Matador AI, Repair 360, and of course, fullthrottle.ai. And now let's get into the show. David Regn and Amol Waishampayan on the CDG podcast. Gentlemen, welcome.
Yossi, thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
It's great to have you on. I'll give you the backstory of the big reason why we're here today. This sounds like an intervention, but it's not. There's a lot of change right now happening in automotive advertising, and I'll admit it's not something that I talk about too often, too formally, but dealers have been asking, right? What channels are working? What's not working? Just where's the industry headed? And candidly, I don't know. So here you are, and you're going to give us all the secrets. So David, I'll let you introduce yourself because you have plenty of background in this industry, but I want to preface what I've been hearing from dealers at a high level, right? ChatGPT is rising. Google, I would say there's a lot of disruption happening in the market. That's no surprise to any dealer, where you have customers in the dealership talking to ChatGPT saying, is this a good deal or not? You have customers before they get to the dealership now asking ChatGPT, hey, where should I go buy that car next? Or, who's the best local dealer or whatnot? Not to say that it's not pulling information from Google, but the reality is, if the 2010s was the era of, if I'm on Google as a dealer, I'm winning, we have absolutely no security that that's here to stay. So just starting out, if you can just briefly tell us about yourselves. David, you have been on the podcast maybe about a year ago. The two of you recently co-founded a new product in the market, which we'll talk about. But if you could just tell us about yourself and also give us a state of the automotive marketing landscape.
Yeah, Yossi. Well, yeah, again, thanks for having me back. Super excited to share, with your audience kind of what is going on, in the state of advertising. Like you said, ChatGPT, Google, lots of things going on. But just for the listeners, David Regn, co-founded, CEO of Stream, over 30 years ago in my mom's, living room, and have grown the business from, just myself and my partner, to, over 600 team members, and then co-founded and invested in Amol and the Full Throttle team. So excited to be here with you.
Amazing. So start us off with just general state of automotive advertising. How do you describe it right now in a nutshell?
Yeah, Yossi, I think if you go back, let's go back 25 years, where if you think about what dealers were doing 25 years ago, they were spending a tremendous amount of money in the newspaper, right? Like, they were lion's share of their budget is going to the newspaper, full page ad, double trucks on Sundays. That's because.
Wait, David, by the way, I love the newspaper, and I would say mostly like the Auto Shopper and all those things.
Yeah.
But what freaked me out, I just have to tell you this, what killed me, this really bothered me, was that I was a young operator and I could never get like the front pages because someone was like grandfathered in. And I'm like, what is this Like, why can I swear to you, I'm a better operator than that. Why can I not be on like the second, third, fourth page of this specific newspaper and they happen to be grandfathered in? That just bothered me. So anyways, I just want
it's true. Like here in Philly, like we're in Philly, like Kerbeck always had the back of the paper. Yeah. So I think if you look back, and a lot of the dealers were fighting for share in the newspaper. They were fighting for the front cover, the back cover. And as, media consumption started to change, people went to the internet, and slowly year after year, the newspaper readership started to decline. More people were going to the internet for their news, and live updates. And I think that's when, you had some dealers that were slow to adapt to that shift from, media consumption from the paper to the internet. Others were faster. And I think those that were early adopters in the internet saw, tremendous, results. I think though, you talk about what the state of the union is, and we're seeing that shift again today, so post newspaper, internet, lots of that lion's share of dealers' budgets going to, Google paid search, Google VLAs, Google PMAX, everything Google, because they're trying to get everyone in that moment of when they're looking or researching a car. So once again, over the last, couple of years, we've got a very, very crowded space, on the search results pages of Google, because that's where all the dealers' money is. Google's building products to monetize their bottom line. They're the most profitable company in the world. So they're going after all those budgets and all those shoppers that have that low funnel intent. And then, dealers are also fighting again in the classifieds, whether it's, Cars, Auto Trader, Car Gurus, etc., for their used car inventory. So when you think about the industry, once again, we're at what I would call a maturation point of, crowdedness when it comes to digital. And at the same time, like you said, Yossi, from the huge shift of, the newspaper we have, now we're moving to, ChatGPT. We're moving to, different types of, media consumption, especially for the younger generations with TikTok, etc. So, there's a lot of choices out there for dealers. And I think there's a lot of misinformation, and dealers don't always know what to do, where to do it, and how big to go into those mediums.
David, three things I want to distill out of that, what you just said. First of all, number one, a big part of the reason why I was excited to chat with you was because you have a lot on the line. I mean, you have skin in the game in this industry. And from what I understood, you're approaching the future of automotive advertising in a way that is, I would say, very difficult for someone who's so invested in this business as you are. And so to me, that is, I respect that. I think, call it like innovator's dilemma, right? It's like classic. Just take Google as an example. They have the lion's share of search. Suddenly they have to show AI listings as well to compete with ChatGPT, but that takes away their ad revenue. It's a huge innovator's dilemma and they will, lose billions, but it's ultimately that's what needs to be done. Everything has a timeline and it's finite. The second thing that I understood there is that, as I just mentioned, Google has sort of had a monopoly on our attention when it comes to search. That is changing now. And in a world where that's changing, ultimately, that means the dealer's marketing mix is going to change. And then the third thing, I don't remember the third thing, but I got two things there. All right. So with that said, well, I guess it was sort of, it related to my question, my follow-up question to you there, which is that before we talk about what's happening or where the industry's headed now, has anything changed with respect to where dealers are advertising today and driving the best ROI? And I'm talking about like the last, 3, 6, 9 months, not 3 years, but recently. If you're looking at the marketing mix and where dealers are driving real ROI, has anything changed recently?
Yeah, Yossi, I think a lot has changed, right? It goes back to, if you look at the lion's share of dealers' budgets, it's going to Google paid search, Google VLAs, Google PMAX, and the third party classifieds. Like, there's no real differentiation there when you talk about your advertising strategy, right? Like,
but has that changed? That's my question. Has that been that case for several years, or is that different now?
It is. No, you'll see, I think it's just like the newspaper, right? It's been changing slowly over time. And then you get the kind of the big moments of, AI, chat GPT, where we're going to see, current generation, the next generation, like you said, their purchase journey will be different. And I think what we've been, kind of wooed as an industry, that the purchase journey is linear, and the purchase journey has never been linear. I always challenge everyone to think about how you buy things, right? Like, you're going to talk to friends and family. You're going to talk about, where you've bought a car, where you've serviced a car. Have your experiences been good? Have they been great? Do you know a guy? Like, everyone wants to know a guy. I mean, I get more requests from, friends and family every day to, hey, connect me with a dealer you trust, So I think that when we talk about social signals, brand awareness, that has been forgotten in a lot of ways because of this digital addiction that a lot of marketers, not just dealers, but a lot of marketers have, become obsessed with performance-based marketing. And if you're not looking at, the entire, customer journey and customer life cycle, you're going to get really, bogged down in performance and vanity metrics that are not showing a bigger picture of, like, what's really going on. Am I influencing the people within my market? Am I making them aware of who I am, what I stand for, why I've been in business, and how many satisfied customers, I have? That can't be done like with a Google paid search ad or on a third party classified listing. And we know, Yossi, that dealers have invested millions and millions of dollars in their facilities, in their EV chargers, in their technicians, all of those things. It can't just be one media tactic that is super saturated and super crowded.
This episode is brought to you by Repair 360. If you're in the used car business, you know wasted time is wasted money. Check out Repair 360, the first and only reconditioning software that connects every function in the dealership to tighten recon and help you sell more cars. No more hounding vendors. Goodbye endless texts and hallway chases. Repair 360 connects all the dots. See where every car is and what its recon is costing minute to minute in real time. Go to repair360.com or click the link in the show notes below.
I think the thing I would add there is we're at the beginning stages of dealers asking the right question, which is, if I spend more on paid search and spend more on paid social, is that going to equate to more business value and outcomes? And essentially they've plateaued where you're at a point of diminishing returns. So I think what's been now, dealers are asking these questions, agencies are asking these questions of, if I increase in those areas, am I actually getting more impact? I'm getting more clicks, but is that actually resulting in more sales? And so I think we're at an inflection point where people are saturated with, I spent so much money on paid search and paid social, but they're not sure where else to go because they understand search and you understand social, and everything else seems so hard to get their hands around, which is a perfect tie into exactly, what we've been doing for the last, 2 years or so.
Well, can you tell us about that? I would say I agree with your point there. Everything else is murky. I think that what's so attractive about paid social and search is it's just so transparent. And, as you know, obviously we all know the saying in marketing, right? Like, I'm spending X amount, but half to spend, or whatever, however said, half to spend I'm spending is being wasted. I don't know which half.
God, Watermaker, baby.
And so I think, yeah, right. And so I think that's what's so attractive about those platforms. But so Amol, can you explain further? You're a very smart person. I've spoken with you several times. And so you've been working on something and you've scaled tremendously, which is a big reason why this piqued my interest. What are you working on today? Like, what is the new solution for dealers?
Yeah, essentially what we've done is we've launched the world's first automotive DSP. And those sound like more words, more acronyms. So
I don't like acronyms. I don't like acronyms.
Exactly. So let me explain, like, what is any of that actually mean, right? The way that most dealers and their agencies, so, our platform used by many vendors, many agencies, many dealers, dealer groups, the way that they understand that is, I have a Facebook ad account and I have control and transparency into it. If I'm using a vendor or an agency, they're using my Facebook ad account. I understand it. To your point, Yossi, right? Exactly. I have a Google ad account. Same concept. To your point, this transparency. As a dealer, I can go look at it. I understand the spend. I understand, what's happening with it. I invite agency 1 or agency 3 or whatever agency I'm on, like, into the tool, and then they do their paid search unless I change providers. But it's my ad account, and I understand what's going on with it. That's great. But it, again, only covers paid search and paid social. The rest of the internet and the connected world is this big blue ocean of the open internet world. And there's so much complexity in that space. There's trading desks, there's ad networks, there's exchanges, all these more, all kinds of things that are in the ad tech space. And this is why, for a lot of dealers and their agencies and vendors, this feels like, okay, this is a great big blue ocean. I don't know where to get started. And this is something that, David and I understood early on, a few years ago. And David challenged me as an investor to say, how do we create one ultimate automotive advertising platform that allows us to understand beyond search, beyond social, and allow that platform for agencies, for dealer groups, for OEMs. And interestingly enough, it's a perfect innovator's dilemma, because that platform would compete with Dave's baby Stream, right? Which he's built for so long and grew into such a huge company. So that was kind of the genesis, is that how do we create the ad account for the open internet, right? And then in this ad account for the open internet, which is basically what a DSP is, have real-time buying, like a I think of it like a stock trading system, right? Like the stock market. In the stock market, if I want to buy something, I buy a stock, there's an actual, like, bidding component where it's like, I want to buy it at this price, and then, like, in a millisecond, it's going all over, and suddenly, like, you may have stock at this price. And when you think about display ads and connected TV ads and online video ads, all of this space essentially operates like a stock market too. If you want to bid on an impression at the moment that someone lands on a website where there could be an ad, or they turn on their Hulu and they're about to watch something, in that millisecond, the stock market system kind of goes into play and says, okay, well, based on who I'm targeting, based on what the creative is, based on where I'm sending the ad, and all the other people that are bidding for the same thing, I'm going to win or lose this bid. Typically, this process is far from a dealer or dealer group, because it's being handled by agencies, handled by vendors. But and because of that reason, there's a lack of transparency to it. So again, Dave and I thought, hey, how do we create one platform that essentially takes that big blue ocean, combines it into one ad account, for the open internet, pulls in direct native integration to all of your DMS data, your CRM data, major publishers, major third-party audiences that are in there, and you bring it all into one place with transparency for the dealer to invite their agency, invite their other vendors, just like they do for Google and Facebook, and then be able to do a couple of key things. So I'll give you 3 examples of, like, what can you do with this new automotive DSP? I know we hit acronyms, right? But what are 3 things?
1 second though, before you go into a couple examples. So you're basically saying that you're basically thinking of this as a stock exchange, less so as a manual operation. Like previously, you want to put an ad on TV, I'd call the company, I'd inquire, I'd speak with them, or maybe I'd go through a media buyer, but there's this process. I'd have to find the right one. You're basically saying put it all in one platform and do it automatically. And it functions like a stock exchange where with, the bidding similar to Google and Facebook in that sense, where I'm actually bidding on the terms, and it's just, it turns into an auction. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay.
You're
Got it.
100%. But the kind of the distinction I would make, I think it's relevant for the audience, is that it's already functions like that. It's just the dealer is so far from that stock exchange. They're very far removed from it. And I think there's a harmonious blend of bringing that closer to the dealer, giving agencies and vendors that are working with a dealer more enhanced capability, bringing in all the CDP data, the DMS data. So imagine that your real-time stock bidder, which is working somewhere for you, just maybe really far from you today. Imagine that's working real time for you, but you can actually see it work. And it's pulling in your data, so it doesn't have to make leaps and bounds. And then at the end of a spend that you might have, you're wondering, okay, well, what did I get for this spend that's not in search and that's not in social? Imagine you're having that all in one place.
Amol, do you see the industry heading? I mean, clearly, I don't think I'm not phrasing that the right way because you're obviously doing this. And so, but how does the previous guard survive? It feels like everything today, I mean, I'm using AI in half the things I do nowadays. And it feels like if you can connect that to my DMS, right? If you could take the system, connect it to my DMS, and then have it go work for me, find the right customers for me based on my data, right? Do that automatically. Does the previous guard survive that? I mean, is this how every dealer will be doing media buying essentially, right? Like in a completely automatic fashion. I have like 50 other questions, who manages this and what are the economics, but just at a high level, does the previous guard survive that? Or are we all buying the local TV ads, Hulu ads, and every other ad other than Google and Facebook through, a DSP like this? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And it's a classic answer of disruption, right? Which is that the old guard, those that don't go to the new way, will be left behind. That's probably true. But I think just like AI or any other major source of disruption, you are seeing everyone in the ecosystem, the advertising ecosystem, the automotive ecosystem, everyone is moving more to this mode of called programmatic buying. Even the traditional, cable companies, they have a team that's on the field in the street that's like going to dealer by dealer and selling. But they also have a huge team that is enabling programmatic sales of all of that same inventory. So everyone's there. I think the kind of the hat trick here, right, is to get everything in one place and then allow everyone to be much more efficient. Now, those that will be left behind are only those that say, I'm not going to use a more efficient way or a more efficient tool. But the thesis is that because we make everything more efficient, everyone has more time for strategic critical thinking, right? And so you go from I'm managing XYZ kind of hard digital labor, I'll call it, right, into, okay, I'm making better strategic decisions about what should I be doing given the state of advertising? How should I be thinking about STEM? How should I be thinking about spend? What is actually making an impact? So I'll give you like 3 examples of something that today would probably take you 2 or 3 weeks to put in place that you're going to be able to do in 2 minutes using the platform. And then you have a bunch of great follow-up questions too. So I'll give you 3 examples. One example is that let's say you want to build and launch a fast TV campaign to certified pre-owned first-party customers, right, that have not purchased. You can be up and running in 2 minutes. Fast TV, by the way, is basically like your Roku. A lot of people have heard of Roku ads or Roku TV or a Tubi. Tubi streamed the Super Bowl for the first time this year, right? So Tubi is kind of like a free TV channel. So imagine that you could be in those places where there are millions of people and probably in your DMA, at least tens of thousands of people that are in those places. You can connect it to people that are interested in certified pre-owned, either in your DMS, in your PMA, all of those places in one place. Another example.
Let me ask you a silly question. How do you create the content for that though? Right? Like what is actually served to that client? Because I think getting to them immediately is very enticing, but what am I showing them?
Great question. And it's a perfect, for your next thought was going to be like, well, who uses this, right? And like, does this disrupt another workflow that's in place? And I think those 2 questions kind of belong together. Today, that's why we feel the platform is a great place to bring together dealers, vendors, agencies, creative groups, all in one place. Because today, someone's making that TV ad, even if it's like an online video ad, right? Someone's making that display ad, and you need great agencies, right? You need great vendors who are good and adept at doing that quickly based on incentives and all those good things. But now they have a place to then actually make that creative really work for you based on what the target is, right? So our platform is bringing together the stock market and the audiences and the activation. And agencies or dealer groups, that some dealer groups have, their agency lists, right? Or they have some vendors and they have like big internal marketing teams. These big internal marketing teams for the first time can now use this platform. They don't have to change some massive new workflow or think about, well, who's using this? Who's not using this? The way that you spend Facebook ads, the way that you even do any kind of online digital advertising today, same workflow, but instead you have it in one transparent box that you invite all of your vendors together.
Okay, so they have access to this platform is what I'm understanding. So I'll give you a real example. What comes to mind. The other day, when the government shutdown happened, there's a dealer, Coons Motors in, DC area, Alex Perdikas, and he sent me a note. He sent me a text and he showed me he's running like a shutdown special for all the government employees impacted by the shutdown. He sent me, he's literally running a shutdown special. So basically, if I'm Alex in this case, shout out Alex, I can pretty much, spin up some quick creative, right away have this on all the TVs instantaneously, basically, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah, you can choose what kind of audiences you want to target. Maybe in that case, you may or may not use some of your DMS data. And you can say, hey, I want this to be reaching LG TV, AMC, Fox, ABC, Univision, if there's a Hispanic audience to it. So you have all of this kind of pick and be literally 2 minutes, you're up and running, assuming obviously once you have the creative. So exactly, that's a great use case. Whereas today, for Coons, they may have to jump through a lot of hurdles. They're trafficking creative. They're like, okay, well, am I getting a list? Who's pulling the list? Do I have a CDP? Do I have a DMS? Where's the list coming from? I have to upload it somewhere. There's a lot of digital labor.
You mentioned CDP. So a question on that. I'm sure some people are thinking this, but how does it work with my data, right? What if I have a CDP? Are you replacing that or do you clean the data? Because I think that's the other big thing here. It's okay, how do you know based on my information, who to actually serve this to?
Yeah, Yossi, I think from an agency standpoint, the way that I look at it is Amol has created the easy button for ad tech and data activation in the automotive ecosystem. And we keep hearing over and over, everyone's saying, dealers, your asset is in your first party data. You need to use your data. OEMs, you need to use your data, which is great, which I think at high level, it's that statement is spot on. But how do you really use that data is where I think that's where the rubber meets the road and the winners will be separated from those that don't win. And whether it's your CDP and you've done that work of doing the best job possible it is to clean data. Cleaning data is not an easy business, no matter what someone says. I mean, I think even the best data cleaners, and they're all pretty much the same out there, is cleaning your data maybe 50, 60%. And I think that's super important if you're doing one-to-one communication, text messaging, email, those types of things. But what Amol has done is built the pipes to be able to take, tier 1 website data, tier 3 website data, a dealer group CDP data, and bring that all into one platform that is being continuously optimized by AI to drive business outcomes. And that's either a new car sale, a used car sale, or a service RO. And so when we think about this entire ecosystem that Amol and his team have built and worked with the media partners and all those things, it's all optimized based on driving those business outcomes for those dealerships. And a business outcome, is defined as a transaction, right? Not a lead, right? We're not chasing leads. We're chasing driving gross profit for new, used, and service. So I think when we think about, cleaning the data, optimizing the data, when you think about, marketing and advertising, there's really no better way to put your data to use than this. I mean, go back to it. Think about the old days where, again, where a lion's share of budgets went to direct mail. And, I'd pull a list of 10,000 people. Maybe half of them were previous customers. Half of them were conquest, and I had to develop a direct mail piece. I had to buy the list. I had to spend, postage, which is now freaking 70 cents plus for first class postage. And, maybe if everything worked out well, maybe that campaign was in homes within 2 weeks. We're talking about being able to pull the same type of list parameters, launch that creative, optimize based on business outcomes in 2 minutes.
This episode is brought to you by Matador AI. Real talk, most dealership AI tools suck. They're great at collecting leads and then dumping them right back on your desk. Sound familiar? That's not AI. That's a glorified autoresponder and task creator. Matador AI is different. It gives dealerships a fully customizable AI agent that not only handles conversations end-to-end over SMS, email, and social media, but also helps you organize your team around their strengths. If someone's great at video walkarounds, route those opportunities their way automatically. Got a closer who crushes out-of-state deals? The AI makes sure they're looped in those specific conversations at the perfect time. Discover why the biggest dealership groups in America are using Matador AI to enhance their sales and BDC teams to sell and service more cars than ever before. Right now, podcast listeners get the first 30 days risk-free with an included white glove onboarding. This offer is only available until the end of the month, so don't wait. Head to matador.ai and book your demo today. That's matador.ai or click the link in the show notes below.
Just to distill that, I don't need to replace my CDP. You're basically saying you work with what I have. I do want to do a lightning round because I have a bunch of, I would say, quick questions. But before I ask you that, I want to kind of flip the script. What's a reason someone doesn't do this? If I'm a dealer, like a dealer that does not sign up for this or is not interested, what's the objections that you've heard?
Yeah, no, Yossi, great question. I think it's one is it seems complicated, right? But it's not. It's actually the exact opposite of complicated. So I think that from our perspective, from my agency side, from Amol on the tech side, a lot of what we're doing is pure educating dealers, OEMs, and large dealer groups on what really does the advertising tech landscape look like. What do you have? What don't you have? What is going to produce the best results for you as an OEM or you as an individual dealer? So, education is what I would say the number one thing that we are doing. Once a dealer or OEM or large dealer group takes the time to get educated, I mean, Yossi, when you talk about being welcomed with open arms, it's pretty amazing, and how quickly that this is really taken on a life of its own.
You're segueing into actually one of the questions that I had on my lightning round, which is how many dealers are you working with today?
I mean, from I'll speak to Stream because I know Amol has more clients than Stream, but on the Stream side, we have over 1,000 clients and a number of tier 2, tier 2.5 OEM partnerships. So, from our side, we've been, really learning how to use the platform and drive results for our clients now for, well over a year.
Who's managing the store? Who actually uses the product in store?
Yeah. So Yossi, that's the great thing about the product. The product is built to be used or by an agency, a vendor, or an internal marketing team. So any of those groups are the big users of the product. I think what really is helpful for the dealer is, again, because the platform is integrated with the DMS, the website data, we're able to show those sales transactions and really say, hey, did this campaign influence a new car sale, a used car sale, a service transaction? And the cool thing in the platform, it's not just showing, the media that the platform's running, it's showing other media as well. So there is the built-in attribution, where the platform is learning how to optimize itself.
So when you say that built in, am I seeing, you said I see direct results of what vehicles were purchased from what campaign?
Yes. And Yossi, what I think is important, again, when I go back to what I said earlier, the car buying is not linear. And when you go in and you click on, individual transactions, you're going to see in many, many cases, they were influenced by multiple forms of media. They might have clicked on my Google My Business profile. They clicked on a paid social ad, and they watched my video too. So I think it's really important that it gives, the industry and dealers insights into, it's not, I didn't wake up in the morning, decide to go to Google and Google, best Toyota Camry dealer near me, click on an ad, submit a lead, the BDC schedules the appointment, and I show up and I come in to buy the car. I think that was the perfect way, 10 plus years ago. That's not how it's working today. And, we've got, thousands of data points to show how media consumption and path to purchase has changed.
I want to give also some additional perspective. So streams onto the agencies that use Full Throttle, they've matured on the platform a lot. They use it well. Overall, in terms of how big our platform is today, it's on about 6,000 different sites. So way more than even just 1,000 that stream is currently activating. We work with over 40 agencies on our platform today, right? Some of those agencies are white labeling it. They're using it as part of their kind of proprietary tech stack, using a number of things, right? So we've grown a lot, over the years, and as we were kind of laughing in the beginning, it is literally innovator's dilemma, because it's kind of competing with Stream and other agencies that are out there too. But it's, to me, the theme for me, the way that I like to explain it, Yossi, is it's democratizing what was typically something that was hard to reach, right? And so if you democratize it, and then anyone can use it, in terms of who uses it at the store, et cetera. Dave gave some good examples and perspectives. I simplified also that who does your Facebook ads today? That's it. You have a vendor doing your Facebook ads. That vendor should probably be using this platform to do all of your media, right? If you have an internal dealer group that's using, or if it's your niece that's using your, down the street that's doing your Facebook ads for you, it's that easy. She could probably do it in here. It's probably easier to use than Facebook Business Manager, which is actually pretty complicated to use after all these years.
So, Amol, before we wrap up, I think very tactically, can you give us some examples of how, I always like looking at the most creative and successful dealers. Like, how have they used something like this?
Yeah, Yossi, I'll use one. He's an amazing dealer. Sean Vaughn has multiple big Toyota stores in Texas, and he's leaned in early and often to, how do I become the best dealer in the country? He's a young guy, 40 years old. Really growing his business. He's got 2 stores that both sell close to, 1,000 cars a month at each store. And when you're doing that kind of volume, he could have, 6 different campaigns running at any time. So I'll give you an example. So we could have a general awareness campaign for, all of his, previous customers that purchased, over 3 years ago, all, like Amol said, all Conquest in-market shoppers. And we're running a general, CTV online video driving awareness to his store, based on, a Tundra offer or a Camry offer. So that's one kind of holistic, big campaign that, could be running on, Paramount, could be running on Fox, on ESPN, etc. And then we're talking about hyper focused. Like, I want to, go after all of my previous Tundra owners because we've got a new Tundra model coming out. So there's, 4,000 previous customers that have bought a Tundra from me. There's 2,000 people that have been shopping for a Tundra over the last 90 days on my website. So I've got a Tundra specific campaign going on. That could be display, video, audio. You can even layer in the old school direct mail in there if you choose to. And then we could have, hey, I want to target all my people that have not been in my service drive, over nine months with a service offer.
Okay, so I pretty much I can take them really down any path, any department, and I have that full flexibility.
Yeah, and when I tell you ask for examples of, someone that has grown their business, year after year, starting back, COVID when he just went, full speed ahead, he's been really leaning into how do I drive incremental sales? How do I capture larger percentage of my market, more than my unfair share, if you will, and leaned into, building out those campaigns and targeting those audiences, both at scale and then hyper focused, based on, like I said, make, model and fixed ops.
Dave has some great examples of how, whether you're in charge of a dealer group or you're an agency, you can fill the tech platform with creativity and strategy. And too often, we're talking about the state of advertising. For the past couple of years, too often people are stuck in so much of the Cirque du Soleil of just trying to get something up and running that they have less time for all of this creativity and strategic decision making. And so one of the enablers, besides all the bells and whistles that the platform has, is actually enabling better creativity when thinking about strategic marketing decisions. And you do that with your agency. You can do that as an internal dealer group. You do that with any of your vendors.
Amal, what's the main takeaway here as we wrap up for dealers? As you think about, if we spoke again in 12 months from today about this exact topic, what changed and what can a dealer today do to prepare?
I think every dealer is going to be challenged with, I need to be more creative with how I spend my marketing budget. And gone are the days where all I do is paid search, paid social, and then for my CDP, send text messages and email. In fact, like one of the things that I don't know if you guys have used it, but on my phone, I use the new AI assistant from Apple. It screens all of my calls and actually says, who are you? What do you want? And I see it. I actually got one just now while we were on the podcast, and it starts writing out, oh, this is Yossi from Cardish Guy. He's interested in this. If it's an unknown number, the AI actually screens it and talks it and says, hey, I'll let Amal, if Amal's interested, he'll pick up. And I can decide pick up, or I could say, just let it, take the transcript and send it to me later. So imagine that's tough. And then and this is just the new iPhone, but that's kind of everyone follows what happens with iPhone. Your texts that are coming from unknown numbers is really difficult to get to on my phone. And I'm doing a lot of housework right now. I actually want to get to some of those numbers. Very difficult to do it. My point being, what's going to change is that if search and social are giving you diminishing returns and you have this CDP, but sending more texts and emails are getting screened, then how do you think about create true market share lift? And it's going to be through better targeted advertising that establishes trust from your brand, from creative and strategic marketing ideas that you can execute with the easy button in something like Full Throttle, in Automotive DSP.
It's a great way to wrap up. Amal, David, appreciate you guys sharing this insight. I think it's very eye-opening, especially with all the change that every dealer is experiencing now with AI, and how Google is really, for the first time in a very long time, it's losing its monopoly. So appreciate you guys sharing this. It was super insightful. Amal, David, Full Throttle AI, appreciate you guys coming on the pod.
Thanks, Yossi.
Thanks, Yossi. See ya.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Please give the podcast a rating, consider subscribing to the show, and check the show notes for links to what we talked about. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.